Hi guys, this is Marlika from My Three Seeds of Joy. I wanted to come on and do a video based on a lot that I see happening in the homeschooling community. So I have quite a few topics that I want to cover, so this will probably be a long video, maybe possibly 2 parts. First I want to start off with the topic of knowledge versus entertainment. I noticed that when I first started recording videos regularly about 4 years ago, 3 to 4 years ago, I noticed that the whole homeschooling community has changed, not so much for the best. And what I mean by that is I noticed that a lot of people watch it for more entertainment now than they do knowledge. And a lot of people make videos for entertainment versus knowledge. Okay? And you probably say, well, what do you mean by that? What I mean by that is I noticed that a lot of people are doing a let me show you what we have video. Let me show you what's hot right now video. Where when I first started, it was more videos with some real good substance. People telling you how to homeschool or what homeschool really truly looks like. Okay? Right now, all I see is STEAM. That seems to be like the main focus right now in homeschooling, and not necessarily the core, the knowledge part. I see more of the entertainment part. So that really makes me feel sad, because I know a lot of people, and based on a lot of the emails that I receive, that a lot of people want the knowledge part of it. They want to know not what looks pretty, but what looks ugly as well. Okay? So when I see all of these different STEM and STEM videos, it kind of makes me cringe and try to basically separate myself from the big move and push. Okay? And I'm not knocking anybody. I know a lot of people have changed their YouTube channel names to focus the emphasis on STEAM or STEM. And basically, I know that that has a lot to do with promoting their channel, getting new viewers, and things of that nature. A lot of people are really putting out some great STEM stuff. But then you have a lot of people that's out here, and it's all about marketing. It's all about promoting self, and not necessarily promoting something that's really beneficial to the community. Okay? Now, I do, in my homeschool, we do a lot of hands-on. And over the years since I've been posting to YouTube, our videos have changed more because my kids have gotten older. So, if you notice, you should see growth in my channel and in others that you follow on this journey. If you don't see growth, if you see them referring to things of the past constantly and not putting out new material that really has substance, then that should really make you question those which you are following. Okay? Also, I noticed that a lot of people have left YouTube. They don't post videos anymore. A lot of the people that I would call pioneers of the African American homeschooling community. And a lot of it is based on the whole climax of the move has changed, you know. Basically, it's hard to say that you are educating your children putting out a video every day. It's hard to say that you're educating your children doing day in the life every day. How can you possibly have time for yourself, your children, your household, by basically living on YouTube, living on social media? And that's what I mean by knowledge versus entertainment. A lot of times we like to see what each other is doing out here in the community, but in the same sense, it's a lot of times I want to come on and I want to learn something. I want to learn what worked and what didn't work. A lot of times these videos are focused on only on things that work. They don't focus on the struggles of the realness behind homeschooling. The realness that maybe my kid may be bright in one area and totally failing in another area. It doesn't focus on things like that. You know, we see all the glitz and glam, but we don't see the hardcore. You know, we don't see that math, that reading, that writing. That's really the most important. So that's what I mean when I say knowledge versus entertainment. And what I've also found out is it's some crazy people on YouTube. Okay? They come off to you as being these sweet people that you want to follow. I admit that it was one person that I followed and I really considered them to be an awesome person until I started following them on other platforms. Then I got a chance to see who they really were and who they portrayed to be on social media, on these different platforms was totally different than the person that who they were, or who they are in real life. So you really have to be careful. I think Aaron did a video about YouTube crushes, okay? Because we all can come on and look very pretty for the camera, okay? We come on and present ourselves in a certain way. But a lot of times we don't know that a lot of people deal with mental issues. They're unstable, okay? Maybe they're unhappy in their home. Who knows, whatever. It can be a million things. But what we see is only what they have to offer right now. And sometimes that can be very damaging, okay, to the community and to others. So I know I'm doing a bunch of rambling. I'm trying to get everything that's on my mind out because I've been sitting watching different clips, different videos when I do have time, because most of the time I don't have time and I don't really see a lot that's relevant to me that's being posted. You know, it's a lot of little kid stuff and a lot of younger kids, but when you get to the older kids, because we have to focus so much on the core of graduating and focus on what really counts, you don't see those videos. Because I mean, who wants to see your child doing math, you know? Who wants to see your child doing literature or something like that? So when you get to the higher grades in high school, you tend not to see in the homeschooling community anybody posting based on, it's really straightforward. You have to do science, you have to do lit, you have to do mathematics, all of that stuff. So it's not really picture perfect. So you don't see videos focusing on that, but that's what's important. And yes, I do have what you would call a lot of cool gadgets in my household, but that's based on where we're going in my homeschool. So basically, in my homeschool, I have a lot of hands-on learners, okay? And the stuff that you see me post, these are being posted, these are things that are done in our off time, not in our educational time, okay? A lot of stuff that we do in the morning, probably like to 1 o'clock, from the morning to 1 to the afternoon, is strictly our core, okay? And then our electives come in after 1. Okay, so that's a big difference than me doing STEM or STEM all day long. Now, during our homeschooling day, we do a lot of hands-on, because that's what my homeschool is about. We do a lot of hands-on things. My kids have to see it, feel it, touch it to understand it. Okay, we're not sitting around all day and just strictly looking in a book. We have to use video media. We have to use any type of form to get us to try to comprehend or retain the information that's being provided. So I know I'm rambling. Okay, so what else did I want to say? So anyway, like I said, not taking away from you guys that's out there that's doing the STEM and the STEAM. I just hope that when I watch a lot of these videos and we see a lot of the younger kids, a lot of the new homeschoolers that's coming into the community, I see them grabbing hold to these things and not understanding that, baby, you need to sit down with that baby and do some math. You need to sit down with that baby and read. You need to sit down. Going out, running around, buying all this cool stuff means nothing. It means nothing. When I started out buying stuff for my children who are older now, I started out buying and doing these things to introduce them to things, okay? Because in our community, a lot of things weren't introduced, and a lot of the richer areas or school districts that were doing well, they were always getting exposed to stuff that normally African American children were not getting exposed to. So in a conversation with my husband, we decided that we wanted to expose our own children to these things that appealed to them. So ours is about exposure, not necessarily setting them on a path to what they're going to do when they become adults. Okay, basically, things will change over the process of you homeschooling your children. What may be great today may not be so great tomorrow. When you introduce stuff to kids, that's all you do in the early ages, is that you introduce, you show them, like you give them just a little bit, just to see if they're hungry for it. And then if you see that they really actually like it, then as they mature and get older, you start giving them a little more meat to it. Put a little more meat on their plate. And then after a while, if they show genuine interest, you don't even have to teach them. They would do it on their own. They would go out there and search for the knowledge on their own. But so I think the STEM and the STEAM thing has a lot to do with you just really need to, or I make sure that I just introduce my kids to things that could be beneficial to them in the future. Not necessarily saying that's the route they're going to go, because right now when you talk about science, technology, and mathematics and engineering and all of this stuff, that's a lot. And we all want our kids to be doctors, lawyers, engineers, and all of that stuff. But it's a lot that's behind there. That math, remember I said you better teach them the fundamentals. That math is so very important. So very important. So what I mean by learning the fundamentals and understanding what you need to do, well, for example, right now my oldest is a senior in high school and he's dual enrolled in college. And he's taking a math class. But anyway, I'm just going to let him tell you in his own words how that's going for him.
Hello guys, it's been a while. So recently I enrolled in my local community college and I had to take a placement test to get into it. And basically what the placement test is a system that places you in the recommended classes of your skill level. And there's two parts to the placement test. There's an English side and there's a math side. So the math side, I tested into Algebra 1. And the English side, I tested out of into college level English. So registration was fairly easy to do. All you have to do is just go up to your local college and find out whatever the process is there. But being dual enrolled, it was just as simple, you know. So right now, managing high school and college, since I'm, haven't graduated high school yet, I'm only taking one class. I'm only taking Algebra 1 for now, while doing high school at the same time. So Algebra 1, the class, college College algebra is pretty, what's the word for it? I mean, it's not hard or difficult. It's just that you have to get used to the pacing because everything moves really, really fast. So you have to keep up. You can't trip. You can't do none of that because you will be left behind. It's just an ongoing race that you have to keep up with. But if you understand what they're explaining and you get the recommended help, because at my particular college they have math labs where after class, if you need help or anything, you can just go to the lab and there'll always be a tutor there to assist you on any problems or worksheets or anything that you don't understand. But so far it's been a little rough for me, especially when it came to tests, the exams, is because, like I said before, everything moves fast. Like, you don't really have time to focus on one element of the algebra you're working on. For example, like order of operations, and then you move on to expressions. You can't stay too long on order of operations. You got to get it down and then move on to the next one. So, but right now, I think I can just continue on with it. Like, I'm starting to get used to it, get used to the college feel of things. So, yeah, but I struggle, so it's kind of hard to keep up with the pacing of college algebra. So, yeah. All right.
So, since you've been taking this class, what has seemed to be the most important thing that you've learned that your mom tried to inform you about or tried to stay on you when you were doing regular non-college work? What did you learn the most from that now that you're in college that you wish you had applied early on?
Showing all your work. That is my number one advice to anybody who planned on going to college, especially math, is to show everything that you possibly can show, because it will count towards your grade. So the answer means little to nothing. It's about how you got the answer. So that's about one thing I say in high school you can kind of, you shouldn't really slack on, but you can. But the effects won't be as great as it is in college when it comes to not showing your work.
So, in not showing your work, is the college professor totally marking your work wrong?
Marking it wrong.
Or is she just taking points away?
Marking it wrong and taking points away. So if a question has 8 points to it, those 8 points isn't just towards that answer. Those 8 points are the steps to get to the answer. So if you get that answer, if you just know it off the top of your head, you'll get 1 point for that answer.
So basically, when he first started taking this class, which he hasn't, it's only been like a month. We're in October now. So he started in September, like the first week in September. We were really totally excited about this whole thing with him finally being able to, for one, take the placement test. Me and him, we both were kind of nervous when he went in because up until the point with me bringing him home and homeschooling him, we never really did any formal testing. We did yearly benchmark testing, but not necessarily where we went out and got testing done to see where we were at. So when he first...
She really didn't think I would be able to test into Algebra 1.
Yeah. So we drove up to the school and went in. He went in. I waited in the car. Another thing too, with this being such a big opportunity for him, I felt that this needed to be his experience. So besides me going in, so this is what I mean about the fundamentals being extremely important. Okay? When he first came home for me to homeschool him, when we first removed him from school, we had a lot of catching up to do. Okay? And for him to even be able to take a college placement test and even be allowed to take a class without doing our remedial classes was an accomplishment for us. We were so excited when he passed both of the placement tests, because this was a big step in our household. You know, some people, you know, they get excited about the ACTs, SATs, and their child being on the honor roll and all of this stuff. But for us, this was like the big thing, okay? So, yes, when he went in there, we wasn't for sure, both of us. He said it was just me, but we both didn't know how he would score. But I'm thanking God that he scored well. Okay, so now we're in the thick of it. He's in the class, and now he has to work hard at it. It's not easy. Anybody that's in college will tell you that college is not easy for anybody. It's not. And I know in the community, we see a lot of people that when they hear about dual enrollment and CLEPN and ACTs and SATs and all of this stuff, it's always something that everybody wants to do. But it's something that you really have to put a lot of work into, that requires time. And that time is not on YouTube. That time is not snapping pictures or doing whatever. That time is spent in those books with your children, trying to get the foundation set. Okay? Everybody posts, yes, my child is doing awesome in college, but most of the time you'll find out that they drop out after the first year, first semester. I always tell people, you know, you always hear the wonderful reports about my child graduated, they got accepted to this university, they're doing so awesome, blah, blah, blah. And for us, we know that our child is going to the local community college. And so when people look at us, oh, they're going to the community college, you didn't get an SATs, you didn't do all of this stuff to get scholarships and all of this stuff for your child to go to university. No, because most of those people, go check on them 2 years from now, 3 years from now, and tell me about their child. Okay? A lot of this is dreams that we have as parents. Yes, we want our child to go to college. Yes, we want them to be successful and be able to take care of themselves. But when it really comes down to it, we're homeschooling them at home. When they get in college, they got to do the work. They got to be able to do the work. Some of the stuff that he brings home from class, I look at it and be like, what am I supposed to do with that? We have to go physically and find a video and try to pull the workbook out and try to work the steps to try to figure it out. I don't know. This stuff is hard. Okay? And then you're talking about 2, 3, maybe 4 chapters in one class. Okay? So your child has to be prepared for that. You know? Yes, all of these places offer dual enrollment and all of these wonderful things, but believe me, you better be ready before you put your child into these programs. Don't add them extra pressure, because right now, my child could quit. You know, he could say the stresses are too hard. That's why we only put him in one class. One class. Because college life is totally different from high school life. It's totally different from homeschool life. It's totally different. So before you jump on the bandwagon and want to run out and sign your child up, count the costs and see what it's going to cost your child. See, should you stay at home with your child and allow your child to focus on those fundamentals, and then later on enroll them maybe possibly in their senior year. So anyway, this is the first half of my video, so I will catch you guys in my next video. Thanks for watching.